Hi guys, welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, March 25th, 2014. This is Jennifer, and this is my post-retreat extravaganza. As I mentioned last week, this past weekend was my B Group's annual retreat. We spent the weekend sewing and enjoying each other's company and probably eating a little bit too much, but we had a fabulous time and I got a pile of stuff done. So I am excited to share that with you, and I'm going to start with one of my projects that is finished completely. The first thing I want to share today is a finish for the Linus Connection. This is a quilt top that I made at a Linus Workday from a pre-cut kit that we had made using a tumbling block template. It's I believe this was a 10-inch template, so these are really big tumbling blocks. I pieced the top at the Workday. One of our other volunteers quilted it for me, and I put the binding on this weekend. It's got labels and tags, and it is ready to donate to the Linus Connection. The next thing I have to show you is from two different projects. This started out as my garden party project from a couple years ago. I did a blog hop where we had 30 designers and 30 free paper piece quilt blocks in 30 days. It was all during April to celebrate my birthday, and I made a number of those blocks. They're not all actually in this quilt, but I made a number of those blocks, and then eventually some other things came up and I had to stop working on it, and it ended up sitting in a bag, and I decided I just wanted it to be done because the blocks are beautiful and fun, and I decided to use those to make a Linus quilt. So I added these two stars for Linus and sashed these all together and put a lovely border on it, and this will be quilted and donated to the Linus Connection hopefully by April. This next project was made from a variety of orphan blocks. As you guys know, I collect both stars for Linus and I take orphan blocks and I just keep them until I have enough of a mix that I can pull them together and make a quilt out of it. So what I did for this one, this was actually stars for Linus and orphan blocks, and I pulled colors that I thought went together, and then I organized them by size. And as you can see, this row of stars, these were all from stars for Linus. A lot of these quilt blocks came from two different extremely nice ladies, one named Sarah and one named Julia, and then there are a couple of others that are just mixed in there. I did get this sashed. Top and bottom needs a little bit more length. It's almost square right now, and I want it to be a little longer, so to kind of pull that pink out, I'm going to put a wide border of pink on the top and the bottom. That's the only thing that I have left. I just didn't have any pink fabric on hand while I was at retreat. And this sashing that I used here was actually from some Linus Connection fabric that one of the other ladies had on hand. This is also an orphan block quilt for the Linus Connection. The majority of these blocks were also given to me by the same Sarah that gave me blocks for the other quilt. There were a few other things mixed in as well, and I made a few 9 patches to go with. And the black sashing was actually my friend Marge's idea because I had these all spread out and I needed something to pull them all together. All the colors were kind of the same, but it was just so much going on and so busy that it just needed something to kind of stop all that craziness and make all of those blocks stand out without them being too blendy. So this quilt, like I said, will go to the Linus Connection, and hopefully it will not take me the rest of the year to get all of these quilted. This is the last of the orphan blocks that I worked on this weekend. I actually did almost all of these quilts that you've seen here on Saturday, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But these orphan blocks, these large lattice blocks, there are 3 of them. I don't know if you can see the one down here, but there are 3 of them. And they were donated by M. Kissa, who occasionally does Talk to Me Tuesday. I took these 3 large blocks, I think they're 16 inches, and I made 3 more blocks to piece with those, and then it needed to be a little wider, so instead of piecing both sides, I decided to offset them to one side, and I put a wider border on one side, and then there's a border top and bottom. And then when I quilt this and it gets all bound, I'm thinking I will probably use a solid purple binding or maybe even a black binding just to kind of stop all of the action. But anyway, this one is done. It again goes to the Linus Connection when it's quilted and bound. So when I first got to retreat, I always like to work on something small just to kind of get me going. And the first thing that I worked on was a gift for my sister. So if you are watching right now, please turn this off, my dear sister. Her birthday was actually a week ago, a little over a week ago now, but I asked her if she minded waiting a little while, and she said no, and so I worked on this during retreat. Her colors are brown and teal, and she really likes handmade kitchen stuff, and this was actually by request. So for her birthday, I made her 2 little kitchen towels with toppers that are brown and teal. You can see that's a little brown dot, and this has like a sort of a diamond pattern on it. And then I made her 2 pot holders to go with. This one is, you can see it's free motion quilted. And these are just some little bits and pieces I pieced together from some leftover fabric. And I did the same thing on this one, and it has that diamond pattern on the back. This one's actually free motion front and back. This one is just free motion on the front, and then the back is left plain. And then they both have their little ties. And inside my pot holders, I always put a layer of Insulbrite and a layer of cotton batting, just because I like the thickness of that and I like the way it quilts up. So this is for my sister, and I will be giving it to her as soon as I see her. Another little project that I worked on while I was just kind of in between things and I was trying to get my creative juices flowing was this little postcard. I actually took stuff to make 5 or 6 postcards, but I only ended up making one, and it's all selvages. I took a bag of selvages that I've saved for years, and I just found some really interesting bits and pieces from the selvages and made a postcard. It has a very heavy interfacing inside. It's zigzagged around the edges. I haven't written anything on the back yet, but I do plan to send this to someone. I just haven't decided who yet. So look forward to someone receiving this at some point eventually. I have no idea who. Another thing that I put together was really me working out a pattern that I had sketched out for the Linus Connection. We like to do big, easy, fun, child-friendly things, and for a while now, a couple of friends of mine and I were discussing doing crayon blocks, and I wanted something not only easy, but that we could use our tumbler template for. We have a tumbler ruler that's for charm packs, and we tend to use ours with scraps, but it's actually made for charm packs, so it's 5 inches, and you just put it on the 5-inch square and you just trim off a little, and then you have a tumbler block. But the idea was to use that tumbler template and create crayons. And so this is the tumbler here, and then I just made a rectangle and then another little rectangle of fabric here, and that creates the crayon. And this is actually a 13-inch finished block. And that's how it comes out with the tumbler to make the to make it go the same size both length and width. It ends up 13 inches finished. This is the only one of these I've made. It was really me just working out the pattern, and hopefully I will get this all written up and presented to the Linus Connection, and so maybe some of the ladies will make some crayon blocks for future Linus quilts. Last of all is something I'm super excited to share. This is what I spent all day Friday and about half of Saturday working on. This quilt is for me. It's going to go on my side of my bed with my husband. We both have our own quilts. And this is a quilt I have dubbed Pop Star because of this red star right here. So basically the inspiration for this is I own an antique quilt that is all very subtle stars, and it's on a pink background, and it has this one red block that just stands out a mile. And I've always loved this antique quilt. It's one of my favorite things. It hangs on a quilt rack in my house, folded in such a way that you always see the red star. And the reason I wanted to recreate this is the antique quilt is completely unusable. The front is beautiful, but the back is completely coming apart, and the batting's coming out, and some of the stitching for the quilting is gone. So I display it and I don't use it, but I've always loved it, and I decided I wanted to recreate it with slightly more modern fabrics and a way that I would really enjoy it. And so that's what I've done here. No 2 blocks are the same. All of them are made from my stash. Every single thing here was from my stash. I didn't buy anything for the stars from my stash. I did buy the sashing fabric. This is Kona Silver, which is a really pale gray, as you can see, and I love it. I'm going to have this professionally quilted, and I've already talked to the quilter about it, so it'll probably be May or June before this gets quilted. I'm very excited about this quilt. I absolutely adore it. This is a pattern that I did just for myself. It may be published eventually, but it's not going to be published today because for now I want to enjoy it just for me. It was one of the trickier things that I've done because it is on point, but it worked out great, and I'm happy with it, and I think it's beautiful, and I love it, and it's really outside of the box for me. I love bright colors, but floating these stars with this gray fabric was really different for me. But I really did not want a pink quilt for my bedroom, so I decided that I wanted to go with this gray, and I really like the way everything just pops right out of the quilt. That's all of the stuff that I have to show you. I'm so excited that I got to share my pop star with you. This is the project that I showed you guys last week that was in all the baggies, where I pre-cut all of these stars individually before I went to retreat. So I didn't have any of these made before I went, except for the red one, which I made just to make sure the pattern worked. So I made the other 16 stars all at retreat. I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to spend a few days with some sewing friends and just sew. Being away from home, there's no laundry, there are no meals to prepare, there are no obligations, no email to check, no pets to take care of, no anything. You just sew and enjoy your friends and have a lovely, lovely time. You can be more productive in a few days with your sewing friends than you can be in a month by yourself at your house. And you can probably tell how productive that we are just from the stuff that I've shown you in this video. I have a couple reminders. First of all, the 6th installment of As You Wish posts on Fandom and Stitches tomorrow, so make sure you come by for that. We are getting close to the end. So we wrap up in May, and if you guys haven't thought about it yet, next week is April, so we're almost to the end. So like I said, the 6th installment of As You Wish is tomorrow. So a week from today is the April installment of Paper Piecing Vintage. So if you guys have not caught me talking about this before, and the only reason that would have happened is if you're new around here, because I have talked about it a lot this year. Paper Piecing Vintage is my block of the month that you can find on sewhooked.com and craftsy.com/sewhooked. It's available exclusively through Craftsy. Every month I update the pattern, so once you purchase the pattern, which is $12, you will get an update every month. You will get an email saying the pattern has been updated. Now you do have to download the entire pattern every month. If there was an easier way to do this, I promise you I would do it, but there isn't another way for me to do it. So you do have to actually download the pattern every month. And once you do that, you can delete the previous ones, because the file will have the new pattern for April, and it will have January, February, March. So April's pattern looks like this. I'm very happy about this one. It's very exciting for me. It's not a whole lot of piecing. You do have to assemble the pattern a little bit if you make the 12-inch block, but it's very striking and very simple. And I will talk more about this block next week when it goes live on for Paper Piecing Vintage. And I hope you guys do check it out, because not only do you get 24 plus patterns, we have a Facebook group where we have a lot of really supportive, wonderful people sharing their blocks, asking questions, sharing stories, and most of all, posting pictures of what they've made. So that's it. This giant video is over. I hope that I managed to make it shorter than it is right now when I edit, so that you guys can find it watchable. So anyway, I'm going to quit rambling so I can get this uploaded and edited, and I will see you guys next week.